Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about music in Denmark. What do they play on the radio stations in Denmark? Is Danish music any good? I'm going to give you this American's perspective of what Danish music is like. So stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kelly and I'm an American living in Denmark. I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel and follow along with all of my expat videos. Just what is it like to be an American in Denmark? So first off, let's talk about what is it that they play on the radio stations in Denmark. Well, I live in Jutland, so perhaps the radio stations that we have in my small rural area are different than in Copenhagen. But I can tell you for a fact that they play a lot of American music in Denmark. Now that is something that I was a bit surprised by because you never know what's going to make it all the way over here. You can't just assume that the radio stations are going to be the exact same because you're in another country surrounded by a lot of other countries that also produce music. When I first moved here, I thought it was nice to hear some American music. A lot of it was stuff that I already knew. There's stuff from the 2000s, from the 1990s, from the 80s. You have even some older music, maybe not so much, but it was nice to hear some American music that I knew. So I really appreciate that. And you also hear some Danish music, of course. There are a lot of Danish artists that have songs in English as well as in Danish. So sometimes for me, maybe, I don't even know where they come from. I think a lot of times that in the US, we kind of assume that they're either American or they're British when we hear them on the radio. We don't really think much about where exactly they come from because that's kind of the music that we normally get. But in Denmark, if they're singing in English, it doesn't mean that they come from the US or from England. It could be that they're Danish singing in English. I just don't know it. So another thing about the radio stations in Denmark is that you don't tend to find ones that are very specific. I know that they have some type of classic channel and it's supposed to be, actually I'm assuming it's supposed to be kind of like older music, but sometimes I even hear disco on there. I know that in the US, disco is a no-no. As being a child, I called in a radio station to ask them to play a certain song, and I hadn't realized that it was labeled as disco, but they said, oh no, we don't play disco music. And I thought, okay, I've never heard it on the radio, now I know why. But in Denmark, you can hear disco music on the radio. It's quite interesting. I like how there's no boundaries. But one thing that you won't hear is country music. In the US, country music is very popular. And you might be saying, well, I didn't like country music. I didn't say you did. There are millions of people who live in the US. I like country music. I like a lot of different types of music. But that's one thing that you really won't find in Denmark. There may be one song by Little Big Town and one song by Lady Antebellum or something. But you really won't hear any other country music songs on the radio. So a lot of times when we go to the US, I turn on the country station just to see what is out there because we have no idea. But when I talk about how the radio stations really aren't specific, I mean, in the US, we'll have a country station, we'll have a pop station, we'll have a classic rock station that maybe plays a lot of kind of harder songs, and we have an easy listening station. We have a lot of different types of radio stations. We have Christian rock. We have talk radio. They do have talk radio here. But when you listen to one of the different radio stations, I don't really hear how they're very different. They play pretty much the same types of music. So if I'm wrong in this, please leave me a message down in the comments. Let me know about the radio stations here in Denmark. But when I listen to them, you can pretty much hear the same types of songs on these different channels. And what do we hear on the radio? Well, again, we hear American music, we hear British music. Sometimes we have some music from France, so there might be something that's in French. There's a lot of times there's some Spanish music coming in, and I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's Spain or Puerto Rico or Mexico or US or what. It's a very big mix of different things that you'll hear on the radio here. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is 10 different musicians from Denmark that happen to be pretty popular right now. So if you're a Dane watching this, you're thinking right off the top of your head, the godfather, the king of Danish music. I should be mentioning this late great guy, but I'm not going to talk about him. These are only the new and upcoming people who are going to be mentioned right now in my list of the top 10 Danish singers on the radio right now. Maybe I'll make another video about all the Danish singers that you should know about. So these are in no particular order, and I wouldn't say that I like all of them actually, but I'll get into that in a minute. Number one is one you already know about. Lukas Graham. Lukas Graham is, yes, from Denmark, but he does sing in English. So I think that's how he's able to kind of branch out of Denmark into perhaps the American market. But he also is a fantastic singer. His voice is amazing and he has so many great songs. Songs you already know, like 7 Years and Love Someone. I love his stuff. He gets played on Danish radio all the time. Why wouldn't he? Number 2 is Mads Langer, and Mads is one of my personal favorites. He's kind of a pop guy as well as like Lukas Graham. He has songs that are both English and in Danish, but I think I first noticed him from his English song Flawless, which is fantastic. If it's not on American radios, it should be. Then during Christmas time, we have this Christmas show that is broken up into 24 pieces. So there's a little bit being shown every single day. And one of his songs was actually the theme song for it. So imagine every single day for 24 days, we are sitting on the couch listening to this song. But we're not just listening to this song. I've got the subtitles on and we're singing karaoke style. It's a fantastic song called Tamamel. I love that song. He does a great job in both languages. So he's someone to think about. Number 3. And again, they're in no order, but I picked 2 people that I like, so I don't know what that's saying. Number 3 is Joey Moe. Now, I'm a little bit older. Joey Moe is kind of a hip guy, but I love Joey Moe. His stuff is really catchy. He'd be really popular with younger people. He sings in Danish, so it takes me a little bit to actually listen to what he's saying. That's one thing. I mean, if I like the melody, I'm going to try to figure out what the people are saying in Danish. My Danish isn't perfect, but he's got this song called Smukes på en Sunday, and I don't know, it's just really catchy. So I think that's something worth checking out. You can always Google the translations if you really want to. He's got a great voice and he has some fun songs. He also, I think, could maybe be labeled R&B a little bit because he has some songs that kind of cross over. So yeah, he fits into a few different categories. Number 4 is the group called Nephew. I think Nephew is kind of new. Well, they're new to me at least. They're a little bit more alternative. Their songs, again, are really catchy. They sing in Danish, but I think, again, if you're just interested in what Danish music is all about, you should check them out. One song that is quite popular is called Igen og Igen, and the other song that I like is called Go Madai. That one is a duet with another singer. I don't really know her. Sorry. Those are 2 songs that you could definitely check out. I'm going to be putting links to videos on YouTube for all these songs. I'd love to play them for you, but because of all these crazy copyright things going on, I don't even dare touch it. So I'm just going to be telling you about it. Another guy who's coming out, and it just seems like when you have some of these new people that could be like a one-hit wonder or whatever, but then they come out with a new song and it's just as good as the first, and then another one and another one. This guy is called Nicklas Sahl. He is a young guy, but he sings in English, and he's got 2 songs that I really like. One is called New Eyes, and then the other one is called Planets, and they're just really catchy. Again, songs I would definitely hear on an American radio station. If they're not on there by now, what's going on, America? Come on, think outside the box. We've got some really good songs over here. You need to snatch them. Another guy who is, I would call him an itty bitty because he's so young and he's got this baby face. His name is Hugo Helmig. He has a famous dad, and I'm not going to talk about his dad because his dad is from a different era of music, so that'll have to be a different video when I talk about who are the Danish singers you should know about. But that is not in this video. This is more modern and who's on the radio. Not to say that his father is not on the radio, because I did hear his song the other day, but we're not talking about him. We're not gonna do it. But Hugo has been out for a couple of years now, and he, again, is kind of in the pop category, just like Nicklas, just like Lukas, just like Mads. I'm on a first name basis. Isn't that fun? But his songs, again, are really catchy. And I think that a lot of the pop songs really attract kind of a younger group of people, a younger following. But this old lady likes it, so you're reaching across the generations there. So first with Hugo, the song that came out with him was Please Don't Lie, and it's just really catchy. And then he also has another song that is called Young Like This. And who doesn't want to feel young? One guy, again, number 7, is Christopher. Just one name, kind of like a Madonna or Cher type of thing. I think it might be pronounced Christopher. I don't know. He, again, sings in English, and he has some really catchy songs. He's actually quite attractive as well. He kind of looks like, you know, the Ken doll from Barbie. Not that that should sway you anyway from listening to his music, but, you know, it may help you, I don't know. He has some really good songs, and I noticed him right away. Not because of that, we're talking about radio, but I noticed him right away when we moved here because his songs were really catchy, and I think he has a really great voice. He's got 2 songs out right now that are really popular. One is called My Heart, and one is called Irony, so you should definitely check them out. Again, he should be on American radio if he's not already. I mean, I'm in Denmark. I have no idea what's on the radio right now, right this second. But if he's not on American radio, he should be. Now I am going to talk about 2 that are really popular right now that I would have to say that I'm not quite sure I'm the biggest fan of, and not because they're not doing it right, because they have got a following, they have got a lot of people liking them. It's just not my type of music. One group specifically that I'm thinking of is Nick and Jay. And Nick and Jay are rappers, so if you're really curious to know what Danish rap is like, you can check out these guys, and it's very much the typical, I don't know, they've got like their big necklaces kind of thing, and you know, they really embrace the lifestyle, I think, but I'm not a big fan of rap music, so I can't really say anything, and I can't talk about songs that I really like, but they're really popular. And if you like them and you've got some popular favorite songs from them, put it in the comments. Let me know all about it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna listen to it, but chances are I've probably heard it. It's probably on the radio. They're out there. Everybody knows who Nick and Jay are. So there you go. Another guy that I'm a little bit on the fence with because he kind of crosses different genres, again, kind of like Joey Mo. I like Joey Mo, but there are some things that he does that I'm not quite that fond of. This is the same with this guy, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but it's Burhan G. He has got a beautiful voice. He reminds me a lot of like Usher, and I hope I just didn't turn you off by saying that. I think Usher also has a very beautiful voice. So he's kind of more of an R&B type of guy, but I think he kind of dabbles a little bit and maybe even works a little bit with Nick and Jay and things. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just not something for me. I think it's definitely attractive to younger people who like that type of music. But he's got a song called Din for Evig. He tends to have some kind of like romantic type songs, so you know, who doesn't like that type of stuff? But it's definitely worth looking at because you don't want to just say, oh, well, I like all these pop songs and there's nobody else. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, what about these guys? And we only are talking about 10. So if I'm missing out on anyone, feel free to leave me a comment. But I've got one more. And the one that I am mentioning last is not because it's least by any means. It is Rasmus Seebach. And Rasmus Seebach, again, is another person who has a famous father. And I don't really know anything about his father, again, because I didn't grow up in Denmark. But he is a really popular singer on the Danish radio. He has got 2 songs that I'm thinking of more specifically. One is called Farlig, and one is called 2017. He sings in Danish. So Nick and Jay, Burhan G, and Rasmus Seebach, the last 3 that I mentioned, they sing in Danish. I really liked Rasmus Seebach when I first moved here. His songs have really helped me learn the language. It's kind of funny because it's the melody and that I wanted to learn what it was that he was saying. So I had a little bit of fun learning Danish while listening to him. And he has got such a unique voice that it's something that you want to listen to, you want to know more about. Those are my top 10 people on the radio right now who are Danish. They may be singing in English, they may be singing in Danish, that I wanted to share with you. I know that there are a lot of really great Danish singers out there who are on the radio right now. And in Denmark, again, they kind of play things that are from all different eras on the radio. It's not something that's very limited to we have to play what is brand new on a radio station. If you're interested, should I do another video on those musicians who are the Danish musicians? Kind of like the one guy whose initials are KL, if you know what I mean. I would love to talk about him. He is fantastic. He has recently passed away, but I think his music is really important. His music has been really important for me, but I'm not talking about it because he's not a new upcoming on the radio right now kind of guy. Should I talk about other people who have been very instrumental in Danish music in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Should I mention some of those bands? I have some in my mind right now. I could do a part 2. Let me know what you think. Write it in the comments below. Share with me your favorite bands of who's on the radio right now, and let's connect. What else do you want to know about with Denmark? What do you want to know about my opinions about Denmark? Write me a question. Give me some ideas down in the comments. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you come back. Take care.